before you start to do anything, you should drain your oil and your antifreeze. To drain the antifreeze, you will have a plastic plug underneath the car by the radiator, like that. Right now I'm starting to unclip all of the hoses. After all of the hoses are unplugged, you just unscrew two 8mm bolts to remove the whole container of the antifreeze. I'm putting back the bolts on the same place so I won't forget where they belong. To remove the ignition coils, you need to unscrew two 4mm hex bolts. Do not forget to unclip the connection to remove the coils. And again, to not lose track of the bolts, I'm putting them in the same place with their bracket. I'm removing the intake hose, and to do that you have three bolts that are 4mm hex. Again, the bolt that I removed from the intake I'm putting back to the same place so I don't lose track of them. Time to remove the whole carburetor, and you do that by removing 4 T30s. Here is the carburetor, as you can see. Back with the bolts. Time to remove the fuel rail. You do that by removing two 8mm bolts. Now the fuel rail and the injectors are in there pretty good, so you need some leverage to remove it. Now I'm removing the clips that hold the injector in place to the fuel rail, so it will go easier. Now I'm just removing the hose that goes to the fuel rail. Use pliers to remove the clamp, then pull on the hose, and gas will come out, so be careful. You can see how much gas came out, so just wipe it clean before you continue. Here you will have 4 screws to remove the intake manifold. One here, one underneath, and the same on the other side. here we have the intake manifold, as you can see, and of course I will change the gaskets. You will see that I put on the bolts on the intake manifold so I won't lose them. Three 10mm bolts to unscrew the heat shield of the exhaust manifold. So now I'm gonna remove the exhaust manifold. These are 10mm bolts that are very rusty, so make sure to lubricate them before you begin. And there are 8 of them, so be careful and take your time. You have 2 8mm screws to remove the valve cover. The screws I will be pointing at are the head gasket screws, some of them. Now I'm removing the spark plugs. In a crisscross pattern, I'm going to loosen all the bolts, starting from outside and moving inwards. Just remember to keep the tool straight so you won't slip on the bolt. So you know, these bolts are very hard to loosen, so you will need a lot of force. Just because the bolts are different sizes, I'm putting them on a cardboard, as you can see here, that looks just like the head, to remember where they go exactly, because that is very important. Time to remove the head. And here you will be able to see the valves. Here we have the head. Now it's time to remove the old gasket to replace it with the new one. Some parts of the old gasket you'll have to sand away, because as you can see, everything does not come off, not here or on the engine. Head is back with the new bolts.